Wonderful. So for today's call, we're going to be going over best practices for outbound sales. And this would be in relation to what we found with threatER, the industry, and a few different points that we've seen across different conversations and engagements with prospects in cybersecurity and in the industry as a whole. So, today's agenda will be exploring best practices for effectively executing outbound sales strategies in relation to threatER software, how to communicate threatER's unique position in the industry among a dense market, and targeting strategies for threatER's buyer personas and specific ICPs or ideal customer personas. So, like I mentioned, my name is Stephanie Pacheco. I am a sales and solution specialist here at threatER. And again, really excited to go over this information and what we found when it comes to these conversations about threatER. So, the importance of outbound outreach and engagement specifically for cybersecurity has a few different differentiating factors for threatER and cybersecurity. So, why is outreach so important? So, the growing threat landscape and really just the sheer amount of threats bombarding networks today has revealed some unique challenges, not only with the prospects that we speak to that are interested in threatER or some cybersecurity software capabilities that we have, but also across challenges in the profession. So, cybersecurity professionals have a lot of different complex solutions to manage, really just a growing complexity adding as the landscape evolves, but also diverse buyer personas, unique needs, and unique pains when it comes to information security and how they're able to elevate their security position. So, what we mean when we talk about outbound, that's going to be different methods and avenues such as phone calls, emails, LinkedIn connections, social media outreach, in person, face to face networking opportunities, a lot of different ways that we can communicate with prospects, different channels, different avenues, but ultimately just different strategies to help us start those conversations. So, while understanding the target market for threatER, we have noted some different elements to understanding who the ideal customer persona is and what the landscape looks like for them. So, we're not only building the ideal customer profile or that ICP based on differentiating factors like size, industry, annual revenue, etc., but we're also looking at roles and responsibilities of the persona themselves. So, who are the decision makers? What are their concerns? And some main points of concentration. So, some of them may be varying as far as compliance, data management. Some may be oversight more so on budget, operations as a whole. So, a lot of different factors that are going to differentiate who those personas are and what exactly they're experiencing. So, another part of being able to connect with those specific buyer personas is understanding the landscape as a whole. So, being able to look at different trends, new policies, but more than anything, seeing how these specific trends, policies, or possible changes on a fundamental level, how they affect the prospects as a whole, but also as organization. So, how the landscape is going to evolve, as well as how the prospects' needs are going to evolve. So, some of the buyer personas that we engaged with are narrowed down to those who are decision makers and roles that directly recognize and see the impact threatER makes. So, some of those groups would be things like CISOs or C suite executives. These are CTOs, CIOs, people who have a very large purview of organizational operations, but may not have the direct experience or knowledge of someone who is hands on that is actually managing these solutions on a day to day. Now, a couple other groups that we've also recognized are IT managers, IT directors, high level professionals that may not be part of the ultimate decision maker group like a C suite executive, but their opinions, their knowledge, and their information definitely is taken into account when those decisions are made. So these would be IT directors, directors of information security, VPs, and other roles that may not be up to the C suite group. Now, the last group that we have is things like admins, so network security professionals, information security specialists, threat incidents detectors, a lot of different roles that are going to be in that hands on role every day, actually managing these solutions, but may not have the decision maker position regardless of the kind of data and insight that they have into the solutions. So this group is really important to connect to because it really can involve champions for threatER, champions when it comes to those discussions and conversations with the upper level management. So those engagements are just as important. So, some of the effective ways we've been able to connect with the right audience is through different strategies, including multi channel outreach and different targeted methods or targeting strategies. So, when we mention multi channel, a lot of the members in a few of those groups in the buyer personas, so C suite and some of those higher level executives that may be part of that decision making group. So, a lot of these members are boards of advisors. They are members to different cybersecurity initiatives. They have a very prominent reputation on a social media standpoint because of their involvement in the industry. Now, multi channel outreach can be reaching out to them via LinkedIn, really meeting them where they are. So, those conversations have more context, not only into the industry, but into their professional reputation. Another part of that is targeted methods. So, one targeted method that we've used and that we've utilized quite a bit is optimal timing of communication. So, being able to time those emails, those messages at an optimal time where you know the prospect will be engaging or will be just going through their administrative tasks and are more likely to see your messaging. So, not only being able to be tactful in timing and how those messages get across, but also being able to personalize outreach. So when you are reaching out, it's not spamming with just general marketing information, but it actually has some really great value and really great context behind who the persona is and who the organization is, whether it's unique challenges, unique pains, or simply something that was posted on a social media blog post. So, some of the ways we find the right fit on these proper ICPs or profiles is through segmenting by differentiating factors. So, one example is through technology, as you can see here. One way we've been able to differentiate prospects and their interest is through researching their current technologies or if they are currently assessing any new technologies to possibly be added and implemented into their stacks. So not only do these type of prospects see value in adding and updating solutions, but they're also actively researching and investing in more robust and comprehensive types of solutions. So this type of organization, for example, we narrowed it down to network security technologies, but even more so narrowed it down to current firewall vendors. So this is great because we can then focus on a specific vendor. Now, in this example, what that tells me is this organization is looking to implement Palo Alto. That tells me that they might not be happy with their current firewall. So that's a great prospect to engage with because we may be able to save them quite a bit on resources just by going over some of our added values and benefits that we add to firewalls. So either making their current firewall more robust with added enforcement up front or helping them improve their new firewall and being a part of those conversations moving forward. Another example that you see here is segmenting by specific categories. So, not only looking at the technical aspect of these differentiating factors, but also what they do on a day to day in relation to their roles and responsibilities within the organization. So, this one is an example of a buying group that is non C suite. So, these are those members, VPs, IT directors, system admins, those other groups that have really great insight and information into their solutions, but may not be up to the level of making the decision. This one is non C suite, also segmenting by job function. So now our messaging can be tailored specifically to the IT job function, how we add value, and how we benefit these teams in the short and long term with our implementation of our software. So Targeted emails, this I really love to highlight is because this slide shows the effect targeted outbound strategies have on communication. So these type of metrics help to see what is working and more so where improvements can be made. So this group in particular was taken over 6 months time, and it just reveals how effective targeted strategies and personalization can be with the type of buying groups and personas that we're trying to engage with. So for this example, this top portion of metrics is based on automated email. So these templates are blanketed messages that can be sent or at least just resonate across different verticals and industries. So this can be in relation to anybody. It touches on very common challenges and very common pains to the industry or cybersecurity as a whole. So as you see here, a little bit over a third have actually opened the emails and read the messages. A little bit under 7% have actually clicked through to get further information through the website, but such a small amount have actually replied that it didn't register in the data metrics. So, in relation to this blanketed sort of general messaging, also compiled some data on what it looks like to personalize and to really look at some targeted outreach strategies when it comes to these type of messages. So this bottom portion here are emails sent with hyper personalization, specific information, whether it be the organization or the prospect, but this type of information is specifically targeting a person or an organization pain that is unique from what we see in the industry. So here, these type of messages, over half, so over 54% have opened these messages, read the message, clicked through about 10% to the website. They're so interested that they're looking for further information, but more importantly, 8% have actually replied. So, because of the personalization and because of the unique specific information that we were able to find through research or through other means, we're able to actually get action from these messages. Not only getting the message across, but actually compelling people to respond and further the process, whether it be the sales cycle or further the process when it comes to having a conversation. So this is also a great example of how we can use different data, keywords, or different parts of research in communicating messaging, altering messaging, or even pivoting a direction of communication. So for this snapshot, this is an example of an organization that we saw not too long ago, so the end of November. Their team, which is more than one person in the organization, is actively researching this specific topic. So, what I then can do is based on research, not only in the prospect's role and responsibilities, but also seeing what their active research looks like, I can then structure personalized messaging. So, not only am I getting across some value and benefit of threatER, but pointing out the unique position of their role and responsibility. So compliance and data is a huge portion of their responsibility, and they're also in the education landscape. So, on top of using this specific information, I can also add in those specific keywords. So, not only is it showing that I've done research into the responsibility or the role function of the prospect, I've also done research in what exactly they're looking at right now. Being very specific, adding those specific keywords into that message, just further resonating with the prospect and leading forward into a conversation, maybe a little bit more in depth. Now, this snippet here is another example of an organization where a lot of these signals, these keywords, they can really be indicative of buying timeframes. And this example is a perfect way to showcase that. So, this organization has actually been actively researching all of these keywords and topics over the last few months. So that tells me that they are heavily in a research phase, possibly leading into a buying phase where they're narrowing down and further assessing solutions to possibly add to their stack. So this would be a great prospect to bump up engagement, hyper personalize, and really try to get through to because of the knowledge that I'm able to gain just from this research. So, how is threatER different? So, differentiation is a huge portion of what we're able to do when it comes to communicating the message of what threatER can do and how we relate to some of the challenges that our prospects are seeing. So, by addressing common objections and common pains with the industry, discussing challenges like complexity of typical solutions and robust cost can show how we differ, but also adds to the knowledge that we have that our prospects are experiencing. So, another way we can drive home the value of threatER and how we're different is with social proof, such as case studies, white papers, any resources that also will be given by marketing teams. A great way to drive that value home with some specific references to current customers and what they're experiencing. And the last great way to really differentiate us is just by positioning cybersecurity and enhancements to cybersecurity as a long term and short term benefit in the case specifically with threatER. So, short term, really just going back to our unique features like scalability, our ease of integrations, and our absolute ease of implementation is vital to be able to translate how short term we can benefit security stacks, but also in long term, how we're able to help improve the functionality of current solutions and year over year seeing the difference of that security and that enhancement that we're able to make out front being the first and last line of defense. So, what we do specifically as threatER, and I'm sure a lot of people in the audience today know exactly what we do, or at least have a great idea. But I think it's really important to just kind of go over how we are different and really what does make us different in the condensed market that we live in today. So, threatER is all about cyber intelligence. So, one of the main parts of threatER is our cyber intelligence aggregation. So, we aggregate up to the minute real time intelligence from over 50 different sources, but not only pulling that aggregation, being able to source that intelligence from different sources like government, private, and even having additional add ons and connectors to really make for a limitless amount of intelligence that you can pull from. So it's not only aggregating that intelligence and being able to have access to those sources, but it's also using that intelligence to enforce against known bad traffic. So we leverage that aggregated intelligence to block all inbound and outbound known threat actors. So, really cutting off those malicious connections. This gives automatic enforcement at the network level to security teams, but not only does that, is able to scale and remove 30 to 50% of network traffic and enforce with no added latency. Huge, huge portion of what cybersecurity and what information security professionals are experiencing right now. So, because of some of our capabilities, what we're really able to do is improve tools and teams' efficiency. So, being able to enhance their operational efficiencies across the board. The way we're able to do that is by not adding any manual intervention. So, all of it will be automated. This is an automated enforcement process that is vital to overall scope of how security function and how the security stack works, but we're also able to reduce alerts to the solutions that currently exist. So, for example, SIMs, XDRs, EDRs, MDRs, any other sort of response or reactive solutions that are within a stack, we're now able to help affect them and improve their functionality, really just relieving them from the bombardment of network malicious connections that come in every day. So not only that, but the grand benefit of threatER is our very dynamic way to integrate with different solutions, not needing to replace anything, but enhancing everything that they already have. So, through conversations and engagements with customers, we've seen a trend in certain topics and areas that consistently come up. So, some of the questions and topics to keep in mind when you are engaging with some of these buyer personas or some of these profiles would be things like, are they unhappy with their firewall? And that really is just a given, right? We sit right in front of the firewall, acting as the first and last line of defense. So if they are unhappy with their firewall, a lot of added benefit to taking a look at threatER. We would be able to possibly save on budget and resources if they're looking to implement a more robust, which of course becomes a costly process to a lot of organizations. But we also may be able to add a more robust architecture to their current firewalls, just helping that enforcement even more. Another thing to keep in mind is, are they having alert fatigue or high spend on some of their current solutions? So, for example, SIMs can be very known for being a high cost maintenance and high cost solution to have within your stack. So, if we have knowledge or if we go into conversations coming from the position of they might have a high alert fatigue, really just getting bombarded with these alerts from known threat actors that shouldn't even be in the network, or if we see that they are experiencing stringent budgets, which goes across a lot of different verticals and industries, we may be able to help them save resources when it comes to some of that being poured into their current solutions. Another great thing to keep in mind is, are they utilizing threat intelligence? And threat intelligence has been one of the main buzzwords or keywords that we've heard through some of these conversations. So, a lot of the organizations that are currently utilizing intelligence, they are very well aware of some of the limitations that exist in the solutions today. SIMs, for example, great for intelligence, can only hold a certain amount and cannot take action on it. This type of knowledge and this type of information that can be garnered through research or through previous conversations, this type of content can really be useful in positioning threatER with their benefit and value of helping enhance cyber intelligence, or even to just start utilizing intelligence. So, this is a really great topic area to keep in mind when having those conversations. And of course, the last topic that comes up a lot, are they migrating to the cloud? A lot of organizations already operate on a hybrid environment, but if they are looking to migrate to the cloud, which is a costly process in itself, time and resource wise, we're able to assist that way as well. Because of our dynamic deployment capabilities, we can enforce the cloud just as well as on premises servers, really adding that added value of a comprehensively protected enforcement at that environment level, at that network level, being able to protect that data and uphold their integrity. So, some of the ways we can optimize processes when it comes to outbound strategies are, first of all, collaboration. So, aligning messaging across sales and marketing by using channel marketing resources, internal marketing resources specifically designed to communicate threaders value. So these type of resource documents would have specifics to the industry, specific to verticals, and really just useful with connecting on a lower, deeper level with some of these prospects that we're trying to engage with. Another part of that is metrics. So, using metrics for visibility, just really creating a more targeted message and unveiling buying signs, whether they're ready or they're not ready. And just really giving insight into the sales cycle and what changes may be needed for your prospect. So, metrics can give great visibility and insight into how you're able to pivot and if those changes need to be made. And of course, the last part, and one of the most important, is adjustments. So, adjusting based on data, allowing you to pivot strategy and just change direction or tailor the prospects a sales cycle based on initiatives. Maybe something came up, maybe someone left the organization and someone else is being introduced. Really being open to making those adjustments as necessary, just promising for a smooth process and progress moving forward. So the next slides, I would love to go over some specific examples of things that we see are working for us when we're looking to add these conversations or when we're looking to outreach some of these prospects. So the first slide you see is examples of some email subject lines that have proved to be very useful when we're trying to communicate a specific message and we're getting results from. So the first one is, are threats getting in? Very straightforward. Threats is the overall challenge of the industry. Are they getting in is really the main question that everyone is asking when it comes to assessing current security solutions. So that email subject line really gets some great results because it's very straightforward and it's asking a very important question that exists realistically among every organization when it comes to cyber. Another one that works is voicemail. And the reason why I see this one working is it bounces off of two different methods of communication. So not only is it indicating that there was something important, I gave a phone call and I left a voicemail for, but within the voicemail, I'm mentioning that information being emailed, within the email, I'm bouncing off of that phone call communication and reiterating the message that I left. So, this is really a great way to personalize, but also double down on communication, playing off of two different methods at once. And the last one that I've seen work quite a bit, again, being very straightforward, threat traffic. So, traffic, bombardment, and sheer scale of infiltration attempts has been progressing exponentially in the industry. So, being very straightforward, pointing out that this message is about threat traffic specifically, I'm able to personalize messaging within the body of the email and really get that point across that we help alleviate from threat traffic. And this is a problem that we're seeing today. Some more great examples of things that have come up in email, but also in verbal communications. These conversations, these discovery calls and demonstrations that we're having, a lot of these type of keywords are coming up pretty consistently in conversations. So the first few being proactive or before the firewall. So, with next gen firewalls having limitations, more research being heavily done on these type of solutions, it's more apparent than ever that there are some limitations to firewalls. So, being able to specifically point out that we sit before the firewall really opens up a lot of interest into our software because we do differ in that way. The position that we are is very different from other solutions that exist today. And not only that exist today with advancing technologies, but within typical solutions that we see across security stacks, which every organization, as we know, has a firewall. So being able to relate to that really is great to add that to conversation and to also help us delve in further into what they're experiencing. A few other keywords that we're hearing a lot is enhancing operational efficiency. So, really being able to enhance what they currently have, doing a lot with a little bit. We hear that a lot. So, being able to help them understand how we enhance their efficiency, how we help their current operations, really is a great jumping off point to conversations of what they're experiencing, and then us being able to personalize that direction or that message relating to what they like to do, initiatives or projects that may be in place that are looking at enhancing their operations. And then, of course, like we touched on a little bit earlier, is cyber intelligence. So, intelligence really being something that a lot of organizations are looking towards. More research is also being done as AI and other technologies advance. Things like intelligence, especially real time intelligence, is vital to organizations and their security structures. So, touching a little bit on that social proof aspect of Outbound. So, these are a few examples of some informational pages that we send quite a bit, but that we have seen great responses on. And the main reason why is the content that is within these pages. Again, fully collaborating with our marketing team and having that concise messaging across the board. So the first example here is a case study that we love to send out. Now, this one is unique to finance, but what I love about this resource and this piece of information is it's not only just finance, but it actually covers some blanketed challenges and pains that we're seeing across different verticals and also highlights in a great way the results and the direct impact that we've had on specific technologies for this organization. So if you see here, the beginning of the case study, the initial situation, something that is not uncommon in the industry. Previous security solutions were overwhelmed by high traffic. So that bombardment of traffic, the lack of real-time capabilities, really leading to inefficiencies and being able to identify and mitigate those threats. These are all challenges that are seen across all verticals, not just specific to the financial institution or financial industries that we see here. Another portion up front is the objectives that they had. So, what kind of improvements were they looking to make? What kind of things were they hoping to get from a software like threatER and the position that we sit in? And then again, going over the direct impact and quantitative results that they were able to see. So, even in today's age, especially with the dense market that we operate in, having those quantitative results and having a direct experience listed here showing 80% of reduction in traffic. significant numbers. But with this sheet, we can connect to quite a few different industries and organizations because we not only see the challenges that are common among the industries, but we also see the direct impact, which is just hugely, hugely valuable when it comes to communicating that information. The second example that I have is an informational resource page from our internal marketing team. Another great one highlighting the direct benefits and values that we have, but this one a little bit different from other informationals. So as you see here, key benefits and features are listed up front. So no digging through the content of the page. You can see here exactly what those key benefits are, highlighting some specifics as you see here. Now, what I really love about this informational page and some of the content is the specific call outs of technologies. So, for this one, for example, there's no wondering how we compare to firewalls. It's right in front of you. On top of just pointing out how we compare to firewalls, we even can list specific vendors that we've seen have had an impact from us as well. So it's not only firewalls, but this one also compares to different technologies that are typically seen within security stacks. So SIMs, Zscaler is another solution that is widely used, MDRs, NDRs. This piece of content calls out specifically by name and by type of solution. This is really where prospects are able to relate. They see, I have an MDR. This is exactly how it can be improved. I'm currently utilizing SIM. This is how threatER can help improve SIM as well. So this piece of content is really great at being direct when it comes to communicating with prospects, but also getting the message across in a very specific way. So, in conclusion, continuous improvement really just is vital and centered around constantly improving. So, all of this to say, as the landscape evolves, so does our messaging, emphasizing the importance of targeted and personalized efforts, but not only that, tactful efforts. Building relationships, not just for networking and business purposes, but just creating long standing relationships and partnerships. Communicating threatER's foundational belief in creating safer environments for the greater good. So, optimizing, improving, and pivoting every aspect, regardless of what the prospect needs. That's really what we're looking for at threatER. So that's the information that I had to share with you all today. It's really been wonderful sharing and would love to see if there was anybody who possibly had questions or if there's anything else that I can reiterate. Would love to go over a few other things.
Stephanie, you actually had a question in the chat that I'll go ahead and read to you.
Wonderful.
If you had to pick one tactic related to outbound sales, whether it be LinkedIn message, email, or phone call, which would you prefer and why?
So I love this question, and it probably will remain the same for the rest of my life. Phone calls is always going to be the best way. And reason being, a lot of the prospects and buyer personas that we reach out to, they are very busy people. So when it comes to their social media presence, LinkedIn messages sometimes can be bypassed or overlooked inadvertently. Sometimes emails can disappear within inboxes. So sometimes the message takes a little bit longer to reach the prospect, but through phone calls, instantaneous connection, you're able to save sometimes 20 emails worth within a 2-minute conversation. So, phone calls will always be the best avenue, in my opinion, because of the directness of the communication. You're able to ask the questions in real time as you stand. And there's also an emotional element to it as well. You're able to really speak with someone, listen to them, and then bounce off ideas in real time back and forth over that phone call. So I definitely think that phone would be best, but the other avenues definitely help when it comes to building that relationship as well.
Thank you so much, Stephanie.
Excellent.
And that'll be it for us today. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Have a great one, everyone.